اینقدر چیزا خط و خر میشه. شما وقتی که بخواید بره این ما پیدا کنید بیشتر میخواد ایموناتون رو قوی کنید.
Very good. We'll talk about it. Right there. خب سلام اگه بخیر. پارشای شموت اولین پارشا از سفر شموت سال شما الان بیش میپردازیم. ولی شموت بین اسرائیل و مصریم هم یعقوب ایش و تو با اینها هستن اسمهای فرزندان اسرائیل که آمدند مصر. ایش و تو با هر شخصی با خانوادهش آمد. اسم اشخاصی که با یعقوب آمد در طرف نوشته 12 برخواه آمدن، 12 پسراش. یوسف در مصر بود. سیفون میفرماید که سیفون میفرماید که چرا اسم این 12 نفر نوشته، چرا بقیه رو ننوشته. یه سال کلی‌تر میتونیم بپرسیم که چرا اصلا اسم یک پاراشا یا اسم یک کتاب کامل تورات به نام شموت بعد اسم گذاری بشه. سفر شموت در مورد اسم نیست، در مورد گالوت اسرائیل است، بدبختی اسرائیل است و نجات اسرائیل است و ساختن میشکان. اون رمبنی که چند روز پیش دربارش صحبت کردیم، بچه‌ها میگیم شموت نیمز. سیفون فرماید که این اسمایی که اینجا میبینیم آدم باید بدونه که اشخاص بسیار مهمی بودند و تمام روزهای زندگیشون مثل یک ستاره درخشان بودند و خوب بود که با اسمشون خطاب بشه، فقط شمارش نبوده. انادرگای روبه، شیمون، تمام 12 شباطیم اینا بزرگان دین بودن، یعنی شخصیت خیلی بزرگی داشتن و تا موقعی اینا زنده بودن هیچ اسرائیلی آبون نکرد. متاسفانه بعد از مرگ اینها صدیقین بودن ولی به این مهمی نبودن، خاطر همین مردم از راه راست به در رفتن، آبون کاری کردن. right. این 12 نفر بسیار مهم بودن. اینا یک درخشش خاصی داشتند. ما تو پارشای 2 هفته پیش خوندیم که 70 نفر اومدن وارد مصر شدن. right. و این 70 نفر اسم دیگه هم داشتیم، بچهای روبن، بچه‌ش not like روبن، بچه شیمون خود شیمون نبودن. خاطر این اسما خیلی مهمه و کلا اهمیت اسم داره به آدم نشون میده که تو این اسم هستی، تو شخصیت داری. در قدیم وقتی که یه نفر زندونی میشد یا که مرگ بهش میدادن اسمشو برمی‌داشتن، بهش میگفتن آقای روبن، آقای شیمون، آقای این، آقای جک، آقای جو، شماره بهش بدن. هیچ کسی اجازه نداشت بگن زندونی شماره 53 امروز این کارش میکنه، اسمشو از بین میبره، اسمش شناساشو باطل میکردن. تو شخصیتی دیگه نداری، تو محکوم شدی که درآوی. اسم یک هویت آدمه. خاطر همین ما این کتاب رو به نام شموت نامگذاری کردیم چون هویت اسرائیل رو نشون میده. چند چیز خیلی جالب اینجا دیدم واقعا. very good to این آدم
اسپوزاری
بله
یه شخصی هویت
بود. شمشون رفاهرش میگه شم به عبری میشه اسم، از کلمه شام یکیه. شام یعنی اونجا، over there. یعنی اسم میگه یه چیزی اونجا هست، یعنی تو درون آدم چیزی کانکشن وجود داره با اون اسم. تو عبری و در طرف فرشور هست، یعنی هر کسی که اسمی داره اون اسم واقعا داره اونو. مثلا موشه فرشور اسمش گفتیم که سیفونو میگه اسمش گذاشتن موشه، کسی که از آب میکشه بیرون. بله موشه 1000 نفر از آب کشید بیرون. ابراهام چیزی گفتن ابراهام چون که این پدر تمام دنیا شد. رایت اب همان گوییم، تو تمام ملت‌ها رو تو پدری میکنی. ابراهیم اکول از اینجا میاد، پدر تمام ملت‌ها هست. ییتسخاک چون که مادرش سارا گفت که سخاک آسالی هاشم برای من شادی آورده، اسحاق باعث شادی میشد. یعقوب همه اسم خاطر یه هویتش بوده که گفتن یعقوب این پشت ملت اسرائیل از یعقوب میاد و ملت اسرائیل مثل یعقوب همیشه پشت هستن، جلو نیستن. تا ماشیخ بیاد ما پاشنه میمونیم، پایین هستیم، مردم رو حساب نمیکنن، انگار نه انگار 1000 نفر کشته میشن، چرا انتقام بگیری؟ اوکی 1000 نفر از بین رفتن بدبخت شدن، اوکی چرا 2 تا از اون کشور دیگه میشه دنیا تمام میشه، ولی ما یعقوب هستیم متاسفانه پاشنه پا هست، همه رو ما پا میذارن. تا وقت باشه ما اسرائیل خواهیم شد. اسرائیل یعنی سر، خیلی های افسر رئیس. اسم خیلی چیز مهمیه. ما در تفیلا میخونیم میشناس که میگه توف شه میشه من توف. خیلی پاسخ فکر کنم تو خیلی میگه که خوبه، اسم خوب بهتر از روغن خوبه. یعنی آدم میتونه روغن مارمرا رو زیاد داشته باشه ولی اسم خوبی نداشته باشه. بعضیا اسم خوب دارن. That's important. راشی میفرماید که چرا خداوند اینجا اسرائیل رو شمرد دوباره 12 نفر، میخواد نشون بده که چقدر هشم برای ما اهمیت داره. مثل ستارگان، خداوند وقتی ستارگان رو میخواد بیاره از گالاکسی بیرون هر شب با اسم میاره بیرون. میخواد برشون گردونه، دور اسمشون رو میگه، دونه دونه ستاره، میلیون ها ستاره اسمشون رو میگه، برمیگردن تو گالاکسی. اسرائیل هم اینجوری هستن. وقتی اینا به تولد شدن به دنیا اومدن اسمشون رو تو گفت این پارچه از بین دارن میرن، میگم اینا از اونام رفتن. هنوز ما مثل ستاره هستیم. اسم اهمیت ستاره رو میگه، این چه ستاره مهمیه، هر یهودی چه ستاره مهمیه و چقدر مهمه که آدم برای خودش اسم خوبی بگذاره. این نفر بوده اسمش نوح بوده، رب نوح کت، بهش گفتن رب نوح هن یعنی یس، هن به عبری یعنی یس، ارامک عبری هن ه و نون، هن یعنی یس، سکن میمونه. بله به ارامک بیشتر میگن هن love yes no. ایشون چرا گفتن هن؟ به خاطر اینکه هن میشه 55 هی 5 نون هم 50 میشه 55. که ما رو از آدم گوار میگه که وقتی در 120 آدم میره جلو هشم از چند سال میپرسه، میگه تو تورا خوندی؟ بیزنس تو با املا کردی؟ منتظر مشیخ بودی؟ چند سال داریم میپرسیم. اولش که دیگه سوالاش اینه که تورا خوندی نخوندی، یا میگه یس یا میگه نو. لاب هن which one are you gonna answer؟ من میخوام بگم یس بعد 120 سال یس میشه به عبری هن، ارامک میشه هن میشه 55. من میخوام 55 بار تمام 60 تمام کنم، تمام ست گمارا رو 55 بار میخونه. رایت همه وقتی گفتن رب نوح هن، این کسی هست که بتونه بگه هن 55 بار 60 تمام کرده. این مثل ستاره است. چرا؟ چون وقتی هم که رب گفته بفرماید خوبی ستاره چی میمونه؟ که ستاره همیشه درخشانه. بعد وقتی میتونیم ببینیم، وقتی نمیتونیم ببینیم، نور ستاره همیشه هست. حتی روز هم که ما نمیبینیمش هنوز نورانیه. صدیقی هم اینجوری هستن. حتی وقتی هم جلوی ما نیستن نمیبینیمشون، از عالم رفتن، هنوز اسمشون داره میدرخشه. اسمش که میگم فلان صدیق فلانی خیلی صدیق بود. ستاره میمونن. دقیقاً حرف که راشی میزنه. حتی در مرگشون هم ستاره هستن. اسم خوبشونش وقت ازشون جدا نمیشه. اسم خوب کاری که انجام میده اسم خودش میگذاره. میگه یه بار ختم سفر یه راه بسیار مهمی بوده. مارشال یه راه خیلی بزرگی بوده در پولند. یه بار داشته گمارا میخونده، سوال داشته، نمیتونسته بفهمه سوال تو گمارا. حالا مارشال خودش فروش خیلی قشنگ تو گمارا داره، این سوالش نمیفهمیده، همسایه پایینیش داره گمارا رو میخونه، یه جوری توضیح داد بلند به خودش، اصلا سوال نیست. من فهمیدم از توضیح همسایم. من کیه؟ میره پایین، سبزی فروش محله. که تو کی هستی؟ میگم سبزی فروشم. میگه نه تو جوری که گمارا میخوندی خیلی خوب به خودش توضیح میدادی. بعد میگه بله من تو را خونم، گمارا خونم، ولی سبزی فروشم. آدم میدونو همشاینو. خواهشام کسی هم نگو. مرشبش قول میگه تا وقتی که من زندم بهش کسی نخواهم گفت. ولی وقتی میمیره توی وصیت‌نامه‌اش نوشته که بعد از من فلان سبزی فروش بعد راه به شهر بشه. راه خیلی بزرگی بوده خودش. بعد میره پیش در خونه سبزی فروش. آقا مرشد گفته تو بعد راه به شهر. من سبزی فروش محل هستم، چی میگی؟ میگه نه میگه خودت که نمی‌دونستی، میگه فلانی که تو فلانی من زندگی میکنه بعد راه بعدی بشه. بعد میفهمن که چه راه بسیار بزرگی بوده و چندین سال راه به شهر خواهد بود این شخص. این میگه که من که مارشال نیستم، من که رب نوح نیستم که 50 من معمولی، من این بیزنسمنم. من این سبزی فروش هم میتونه خیلی به حالت سیریسنس تو را بخونه و به جای بالا برسه. این نفر به من میگفت که تو اسرائیل که رد میشه میگه تبیزی میلک من همین گروسری، همینا بزرگترین خبری بود دنیا هستن. باید نمیدونم که ما رو حفظن، میشنات رو حفظ هستن، اینقدر میشنات حفظ کردن همه چیزا they know it by heart. چرا؟ because they sit down and they are very serious about the learning. You ever come in I was in Borough Park with a Hasidic guy, businessman. I think he sold perfumes, perfume store or something. His wife worked with his wife. He asked me what Gemara you're learning. I said I'm learning about Metzia. So which stuff? I said no, page Dalet, Gimel, beginning. He told me back and forth the Gemara, all questions and the Tosfot and Rashi. I said, how do you do this? He said I learn 8 hours a day. I said, but you're a businessman. How can you, if you're sitting in Kollel, you learn 8 hours. How do you? I said 4 a.m. or 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. I have a seder. I learn from 4 to 8 in the morning. I go to work, and then again from 5 to 10, whatever, 5 to 9 in the afternoon, I go learn. I have 8 hours a day. I don't let go. But I'm not there. My wife is taking up a business. I go, I stop by, I rest. And I think he had 8 kids, few, grandchildren, or maybe at the time, not everybody was married, but many of his children were married at the time. And he would support his sons-in-law to learn also. So I told myself, I was in yeshiva, I was second, third year in yeshiva. Like, wow, I don't know if I learn 8 hours a day as he does. So I went and I revised my schedule. So I want to make sure I learn 8 hours a day. This guy is a businessman with a family, children, grandchildren, supporting his in-laws, sons-in-law to learn. So he said here it was a vegetable seller that was a big, great rabbi. He never showed himself. When the rabbi of the town died, he wrote in his Savah that I want him to become the next rabbi. And he couldn't believe that, a vegetable seller would be such a great Torah scholar. It shows everybody has the capability, has the potential. And he can use, he could learn. So Okay, so that's why this sefer is called Shemot. Shemot means names. Everybody has his own name. The name is very important. Um, so the Midrash brings down, it says, it's Yaakov Ishbetova. Yaakov came with his household to Egypt. The Midrash that says, how come, first of all, children of Yaakov grew up and grandchildren grew up in in Egypt, and still they stayed pretty good. Great grandchildren, unfortunately, went off, but the grandchildren were pretty good. They behaved. They were in the way of God all the way. The Midrash that says Yaakov, before he came, he found a wife for every one of his household members. Even the grandchildren, he said, you have to get married before you go down to Egypt. Um, so imagine if there was a 5-year-old boy, he said, I want to have a wife. This is zibuk, shiduch, someone in mind. You're going to get married to this girl. You're going to get this girl. So why? Because Yaakov had Ruach HaKodesh, and he knew that Egypt has a lot of tumah, a lot of impurity. And he said to fight the impurity, the best segula, the best remedy is to have a very good, kosher Jewish girl. I have to make sure before my children go down to Egypt, they have a wife, they have a kosher wife. And that would be a shield for them, because a good wife makes sure her husband stays in the way of God. So a person should know his biggest shield for Tuma is his wife, and the biggest shield for his children, for his sons, to fight the impurity of America or any society is the wife, right? He says that he knows many people. Unfortunately, they prevent, they don't let a good shidduch happen. He says that he knows a very important Rav that they offered him 3 shidduchim, 3 options. This girl, that girl. He chose the third girl, right? And the third girl was not the highest quality. He said, I'm okay, but she's a good girl. I'm going to marry her. And he says, the Rav said, I was so lucky because the other 2 were coming from also great families. They also got married to great rabbis, but they unfortunately didn't have any children. They never could have children. But this third level, third quality, gave me many children. So people, unfortunately, they resist. They don't want to get the shidduch going for non-important reasons, and they're losing a lot. So he says that this Rav said, even though my wife wasn't from the very important family in Yerushalayim, but still, Baruch Hashem, I married her and I have children. So it shows the importance of marriage, of having a wife. A wife is like a wall around you. A wall is for protection from outside. A Jewish wife is also a protection from the outside world. Outside the house, there's so much kochot, there's so much powers of tumah. We need something to block it, and that's a Jewish wife. And a person should let his Jewish wife do the job to protect him from the impurity. Another important lesson, he says, that it says that as long as Yosef and his brothers were alive, no one did anything wrong. Only after the brothers died, Jews started going off the derech, going out of the right path. So in Egypt, no one did anything bad, anything wrong against the Torah, against Hashem, as long as the 12 Shvatim were still alive. Once they died, the grandchildren, they didn't see the grandfather, they started sinning. So why? The Midrash, the Or HaChaim says, because they were so important in their eyes, and I'm sorry, as long as the brothers were alive, the Egyptians didn't give any. It goes together. They didn't sin, and also Egyptians did not give any hard work to the Shibud. The exile didn't really start until the brothers died. Yosef was alive, Reuben was alive, Shimon was alive. Egyptians didn't say anything harsh to Jews. Once they died, they started giving us the hard work. So why? Or HaChaim says because they were so chashuv, they were so important in their eyes, they didn't have the chutzpah, the guts to tell them, you have to work for us. They saw Reuben, they saw Yitzchak, they saw Shimon. Yosef said, we can't tell them to work. Once they died, they said, the rest of the Jews are not important. We can make them work. So he says that this is a very, very important piece of, musar. How do you say musar, Abe? Another rebuke. It's a piece of advice, I guess. Important advice a person could learn. Right. If a person acts properly, with chashivut, with importance, and he gives honor to himself, to his character, nobody can make him work. People cannot give you hard work if you are a mechubad, when you are an important person. So Egyptians only started giving the hard job to Jews when they said, you're not so important, you could work for me. But if you see an important person, you can't ask him to work for you. It's embarrassing. How can I ask him? He's an important person. So he says that. He says, interesting. Chinuch writes, there's a very important book called Sefer HaChinuch, right? Chinuch lived about 600-700 years ago. He wrote reasons for different mitzvot of the Torah. Every mitzvah, he has a reason for it. Even the things that we don't know, we say the chok, we don't have reason. He has some sort of reason. Very, very important work. Very important book. We even have the English translation here.
Is that again?
Chinuch. Chinuch is education. It's a very, very important classic work, classic book. One of the Rishon of the earlier. So he writes, a person who is not clean is more likely to sin. If you don't dress clean, that means you are not important. You're showing, I'm not so important. I don't deserve to have nice, I'm not saying expensive clothing, but at least clean clothing. I don't have a clean dress. I'm not so chashuv. I'm not so important. That person is more likely to sin. So that's why the Torah said you're not allowed to break the bone of Korban Pesach. Because an important person, honorable person, doesn't do things that are ugly. You don't break, who breaks a bone? With his, you're not allowed to break with your teeth. Because that's something, it's not a nice thing to do. If it's ugly, it's not kavadik, it's not, with honor. So a person who doesn't give himself honor or doesn't know his own respect, doesn't have self-respect.
Self-respect.
Very, very, very important to have a self-respect, right? There's a difference between self-respect and gava. Very big difference. Gava, the Torah is very against it. Self-respect is a necessity for a person to behave the way Hashem wants him to behave. So a person does something wrong. What did he say to himself? He says, I'm not so important that Hashem will get upset. He's not going to make a big change in the world. Who am I? If let's say, kosher, non-kosher. If I eat non-kosher, the world come to end. No, nothing will happen. If break Shabbat, something happen. Who am I? Other people shouldn't do it. I'm okay, because I'm not that important. He doesn't have enough self-respect. Yosef, Reuben, Shimon, they were such important people. Non-Jews looked at them and said, we can't give you to work hard because you're so important, you're chashuv. We can't make somebody work like this. If they didn't have self-respect, a Jew will pick it up right away and say, work for us. You are our workers. Why not? He says, there's a very famous midrash. How did Paro get all the Jews to work for him? 70 people come to your country that are very important, and they get their own land. All of a sudden, you make them all work for you. Their children, grandchildren, they have to work so hard for you. How do you do that? How do you make? So Midrash says, Paro, the first day, he said, I'm making bricks. I'm paying, right, for every brick this much money. I'm working myself. Who's going to come? Every Jew lined up said, no, Paro is working. I'm working. We are making money. Why not? I would make, let's say, 50 bricks one day. The next day, Paro said, oh, so you could work for money. I want you to work for free. And if you're not, there's punishment for it. There's a consequence. There was only one tribe who said, we're not going to work. We should work, make bricks. We are very important. We are brick makers. That's Shemot Levi, the tribe of Levi. They didn't work. They said, there's no way we do this. They had a lot of self-respect. That's not our job. It's not to our kavod. It's not our honor, to our respect. Everyone had an excuse. My foot hurts, my hand hurts, my head hurts. I can't come. No, the Shemot Levi, they said, you're going to be carrying the Mishkan. We're going to do work of God. We should do such a low-class job, making bricks. It's not our job. For the rest of 200 years in Egypt, not one Levi worked. Nothing. They're exempt. Pharaoh knew because the first day, they showed their self-respect. So that was the 12 tribes. As long as they were alive, people had a lot of respect. Some people, they carry respect with themselves. Some people do things that, unfortunately, we lose our respect because of that. So a person should keep that respect. He says that, and I saw once by a taxi driver, a person, was a young fellow, a young yeshiva man, was arguing for a few agorot. Agorot is penny. In Israel, agorot, they have shekel and agorot. We have dollar and penny, right? He's fighting over a few pennies. And the taxi driver, so Rav Zilzi said, who cares who's right? Maybe the fellow was right. He was overcharging, but few pennies, let's go. Don't lose your respect. The guy's gonna go crazy. Say, man, let's go. Few agorot are unimportant. The other end, he says, I was in someone's house. He found 2 checks that somebody lost, and he returned the checks. And he said that, he returned checks to the owner, and could not believe it. The yeshiva man found 2 checks, and he's returning. He didn't cash it for himself. And he said, obviously, we would never ever touch that check. It's not our check. It's not our money. To us, asur, chas shalom, not my money. How can I check? But to them, we could not believe it. Somebody finds checks in his house and brings it back to the address of the owner. And he was praising God that, you guys are so good. So you see, sometimes the person could gain a lot of respect. The little thing that to him is nothing. And some people could lose a lot of respect for doing something small and to realize, I'm just defending my right. It's overcharging me. I don't want that extra 50 cents. But a person should keep his dignity, self-respect. So keeping a person's respect is very, very important. A person should behave as a very, very important person. It doesn't mean to have gava, arrogance, but self-respect is a necessity. It's very important. Another story brings down, beautiful story. He says that land of Egypt became full of Jews. I think it's a problem all over the world, every century.
But that's when they started working.
Right.
Not with 70, I don't think.
No, after the Midrash is after the 12, not 40 or 70, after the 12 brothers died, they made work. The rest of the people had to work. So there's a Midrash that says when the Jews got into the theaters, Egyptian theaters, Pharaoh started making the new gezerot. Pharaoh started to put new decrees.
That's what with World War II, with Nazi Germany, where the Jews were
Also,
bankers and they assimilated. That's when Hitler hated them.
so it says that whenever Jews want to mix more with non-Jews, the hatred of non-Jews gets worse.
Yeah.
And whenever we say, no, we are separate, we are honest people, we are not like you guys, we do what we are supposed to do, they have more respect for us. Yeah?
Yeah.
So listen to this story. It says that Czechoslovakia was overtaken by Nazis on Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Tough Resh Saditet, almost 85 years ago. 85 years ago, right before the last Shabbat of the year, Czechoslovakia fell apart. The Germans took over the country. They wanted to check to see if these Czechs, these Slobodkians, are they loyal to the Germans or not? Are they going to listen to them or not? They said one Friday night, you got 4 hours to do what you want to choose. They tested them. They wanted to see if they actually were going to ruin the city or not. 10 p.m. there was a big, explosion in the Jewish street, and that was the time. 10 p.m. started for 4 hours. They went to every Jewish store, every shul, every Jewish. They started, looting and destroying and burning. And obviously, they cut the Sefer Torah from the shul. They laid them down on the Jewish streets. They burned them. These are the innocent civilians, innocent residents of the Czechoslovakia. So after Shabbat, this gentleman goes and he sees his store is completely okay. Nothing happened to the store. No burning, no looting, nothing, as if the store didn't exist at the time. And what was that type of store? It was a chocolate factory. The chocolate, they would make chocolate, they would sell chocolate. Sugar and chocolate. So they were all surprised that why they destroyed every store, not that store. So the owner, the next day, Sunday morning, started selling business. He had chocolate, he had sugar, he was selling, and people in town were so happy. At least we're gonna have food for the next couple of days or couple of weeks. We're gonna eat chocolate and sugar. We have no other food. Everything's destroyed. People lined up in the store to get food. And obviously, when you're the only chocolate store and the only store in town, you could be charged a lot of money. The person said, Rabbi Zinger, his father said that there's no way I raise the price even a penny. It is what it is. So why make good money? He said, I can't make money over Jews that they were just attacked. They lost their livelihood. I should make more money now. Is that fair? And he had a certain certain behavior that every time somebody came to buy something, he would wash his weight, the scale to make sure this is exactly the amount of chocolate and sugar I'm selling to the next. Keep washing, keep cleaning. And people were going crazy, just do it fast. I don't want to charge extra if I'm not giving you enough chocolate. Middle of the whole scene and hundreds of people lining up to buy food, there's a car, SS car drives over, stops by the door, and there's a SS guy comes out and says, Hey, Hitler, nobody's scared. What's going to happen now? Next, he might come, shoot people, but kill. Who knows? It's German. They could do what they want. The guy comes over to Rav Zinger's father, and he says, "Do you know me, Mr. Zinger?" He says, "Oh yeah, hi. How are you?" He says, "I just wanted to make sure you're good, and don't be surprised by your store is not attacked." And then again, he says, "Hi, Hitler," and he leaves. So people, what happened? Who is this guy? He says, no, this guy was a worker on this street, was a schlepper. People wanted to, it's like a delivery man. People wanted to deliver something, would give him the loads and go. Every time he came to my store, I would give him food. I would help him unload his car, his truck, whatever he had. Give him drink. I would make him comfortable. Send him off. Now he became an SS soldier. He enlisted to the army because he had to work for the army. He came and protected my property, and said that night I stood by the store, make sure nobody's going to touch your store, because I remember you as the owner, such a nice, pleasant person. So people said, oh, so that's why, because you were so nice and so there was a mensch toward this guy, he protected you. So he said, but Rav Zinger said that's not true. That's not the reason that Hashem protected us. It's because honesty of my father. This guy obviously was faking his whole Heil Hitler thing just to not get caught. He said you're not supposed to call a Jew Mister. Under Germany, you're not supposed to call a Jew Mister. You cannot give any good nickname to pronounces to Jews. They're the Jew, not Mr. Zinger or Zinger. He says that people thought that because my father was nice to him, giving food. No, he said, I know Hashem protected us, or my father said, because he was so honest in his business. There's interesting proof to that from the Parsha in Kitetse. The end of the Varim, Torah puts two mitzvot next to each other. The Torah says you have to have an honest scale in your store, right? Efa, even shalema, sedek, efa shalema, have a complete stone. Back in the time, they used to weigh with the stone. No one knew how big a stone is. This is 1 pound. It was not electric, digital scales. So Torah says, have an honest one. Make sure if it says 1 pound, it's for sure 1 pound, not 1 ounce more, 1 ounce less. If you have a cup, measuring cup, make sure, thank you, Akshay, thank you. Make sure, you have an honest measuring cup. Don't rob people, don't steal from people. And then the Torah says, remember, you have to take revenge from Amalek. So Rashi brings down a Gemara over there, says that if you're honest in your measuring stick, if you're honest in your business, Amalek will not come to you. If you are dishonest, Amalek will come to you. Then you have to worry about Amalek, the enemy. And he said, everybody knows SS and German, Nazism, Shemot, Deber Amalek. The pure Amalek, the Torah talks about, is them. And just imagine, just because this guy was very honest with his skills and not overcharging and not ripping people off.
Was German soldier.
He didn't touch them. They didn't touch them, right? So it's the opposite of people who want to be like Goyim. There's no protection. When a person is honest and he follows the Torah, and the Torah says, do so, I do it, there's a for sure protection. I want to share a few more important things I saw here. One is that it says, Vayakom Melech Chadash. It was a new king. So there's a machloket in Gemara and Sota. Rosh brings that, was it really a new king, or he only pretended I knew? I don't know Yosef. How can you not know Yosef? If you're the same king, it's a big problem. Yosef saved your country. Yaakov saved your country. How can you go against this family? If you are a new one, still, okay, maybe you don't know what happened 80 years ago, 100 years ago. But people know. They wrote in books that there was a family of Yosef. He saved the country, saved the economy. He made Egypt the richest country in the world. All the money came to Egypt through that. But this is, okay, either he was faking or actually he didn't know. Why do we need to know about this whole story here? What are you Torah teaching us? And there was a new king that didn't know Yosef or faked. And so he says something very, very important. He says that, you see, that's the behavior of a person. That's the nature of a person. Person could get so much benefit from somebody else, and in the end deny it and say, I don't know, who are you? The person who himself, his family, his country, everything. We owe to this family, we owe to Yosef, we owe to Jews. All of a sudden, go exactly the opposite. We don't know who you are. That is the nature of human beings. So that's why Torah is telling us, don't fall into the trap. The person has to be careful that I might become like Paro one day. Maybe not to that extent, but the person could become that type. I'm sure.
This expression, what have you done for me
Lately.
You know that expression?
I just learned. But unfortunately, it's
A long time ago, yeah, but now, what about now?
you know, people who have gone benefits so much, so long from their parents, from their spouses, from their partners, from anybody, from the shul, from the teachers. But so, what have you done for me? Everything forgotten? When you read the Parsha, you say, this is power, not me. I know what happened to me. I will never ever deny the goodness that I got. But so is the nature of a person could get and could deny. So Zibra says, be ready for it.
So it makes no
Because-
difference if it's different power or the same power.
It's just showing that that's how people are.
Right.
People could deny, you know, they say, even right now, every doctor in America, every hospital, every good cause is supported by Jews. Every university, go to Columbia, Harvard, who is paying who's the other names? And they go against Jews. Who are you? How can you deny the goodness? How can you, be anti-Semite so much? But that's how people are. That's how people are. Talk about going, but Jews also could be the same. A person has the potential to become that type of person. So that's what Torah is telling us. Be careful. Don't become another Paro. Do not deny the goodness of people who have given you good things. And so it says that Paro told the doulas, the midwife ladies, that when you see boys, you have to kill them. Torah says they did not listen to Paro. Not only that, not only they didn't kill them, they would provide for them. But the chayena, they would make the babies live, meaning even if there was a danger to the baby that he might have died, they would go out of their way to make sure the baby would not die. Maybe a normal hospital would let them die. These two ladies, there's no way. Who were the two ladies? Shifra and Pua. The Torah doesn't say they were Yocheved and Miriam, but they were Yocheved and Miriam, mother of Moshe and sister of Moshe. So it says that Hashem saw their Mesirut Nefesh, the sacrifice they are doing, and because of that, Hashem multiplied the Jewish nation. The Jews became more and more, they became very strong. But that's Hashem made for these people houses. So she said, it refers to house of Kohen. Kohen comes from Yocheved. Levi comes from Yocheved. King comes from Miriam. So every big title in Jewish nation comes from this family. They got it. Not every king came from Yocheved, but there was one king that came from Miriam. So it says here that, what did that show? The Torah says, they were fearful of God. That fear of Hashem, Yirat Shamayim. And that made them to do what they did. First of all, they didn't keep what Paro told them. They didn't listen to him. Not only that, they went out of their way to make sure to provide, to do more than what's required. So he says here that, letting a fetus, a baby die is bad, obviously it's not good, but it's not a mitzvah they should endanger your own life because of that. The two ladies could have said, we're going to it's a big risk to our own lives, we won't do it. And if you have done it, Hashem will say, "I understand. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to kill your life or unborn baby's life. Your life is more important. Save your life. It's okay if the baby dies. You could have got out of it, or say, we tried, didn't work. Sorry, but didn't do that. They made sure to do it. They were not. They didn't fall for that avera. It says, normally a person, let's say, somebody has to take care of a sick person, and it's a lot of work and non-stop. It's too much tircha, too much trouble. If the sick guy, Rahman Islam, dies, maybe that guy would not be that upset. Say, I don't have to work that hard anymore. And even if it could be his family, it could be a good friend, but he's free now. So Rav Moshe Feinstein writes, if somebody doesn't feel bad, we don't consider him to be a very big sinner. Oh, you're happy that this guy died? We understand. Yeah, too much work for you. I didn't cause it. I didn't bring the death. Hashem did. What can I do? But at least I'm free now. I don't have to work that hard. So for Yocheved and Miriam, Shifra and Pua, God said the same thing. We tried, we didn't succeed. Okay, thank God. At least we are alive. We don't have to die for it. But that's how they did it. They went out of their way to provide for them. It says that Shifra, Balaturim says that it comes from Shefoferet. Shefoferet means a tube. She hang a tube in her, like a chain on her neck. If the baby could not breathe, would make the baby breathe. It would give blow air into the baby's mouth or nose, because I'm not going to let the baby die. Why would you do that? Say, I tried, it didn't work. That shows the fear of God. When a person is doing.
Not like Shoferet.
Shefoferet. That's the shell of the. But Shefoferet also means a tube, right? So a person has to. A person who does things for Hashem's sake, and I want to do what Hashem says, he does different. He's not trying to get out of it or to see what's good for him. This is what Hashem wants. That was Yocheved and Shifra. They were Shifra and Pua. They were the two ladies that's why Hashem gave them Aaron, he gave them Moshe, he gave them kings, because they really, really feared Hashem. One last thought. Before we end today's shiur, I think I don't know if it's something connected, but it says when Amram divorced his wife, so everybody divorced his wife too, because Pharaoh said, "I'm going to kill all the baby boys." Why should we work? We should have children if they're going to die. Miriam got up and said, Dad, it's wrong. What you're doing is worse than Paro. Paro is in Russia. Maybe he could be successful. He could not be successful. His gezerah is only for boys. When if you divorce your wife, there's no boys, there's no girls. So what are you doing? So he said, you're right. I marry back my wife. And that's how Moshe was born. So, it says that what Miriam said to his father is like telling somebody, you are worse than Hitler. So you are worse than Pharaoh. Your gezerah is very bad. You are the gadol, you are the leader of the generation. Whatever you do, everyone's going to do. So Miriam had to set him straight. Go back. What are you doing? You can't don't forget about God. Don't be like Pharaoh. Don't be worse than Pharaoh. Don't be worse than Hitler. So he has two questions. He says that, first of all, Miriam had a lot of guts. She was a real tzaddiket. How can you talk to your father? And he is the leader of the whole community. So it's very, very, very sharp, very harsh. So it must be that Miriam was not disrespecting her father. It was saying, a very true thing. This is what Hashem wants. You have to get married. You have to be married to my mother. It says the second part, I think about your original question, if Amram divorced his wife, why should every Jew divorce his wife? Everybody would just follow? You don't think for yourself? Right? Even Amram, okay, maybe he has some calculations, but how can you stop everybody? How can everybody stop because of you? Because one person is doing something wrong, we all should do? So he says a beautiful example. He says, Magbi Duvna says, there was one Rav who went on a trip with his students in a forest, in a jungle, in a field. He said, if you see a dog running after you, don't get scared. You're going to stand and say, there's a pasuk in Torah, Ulchol b'nei Yisrael yecheras kelev leshono. The pasuk in Yisrael Mitzrayim in Exodus that no dog bark, or they didn't sharpen their teeth for Jews. Jews walked through dogs and they didn't attack them. Keep saying that pasuk, the dog will run away. So they go to the field, and lo and behold, there's a dog running after them. The first one running away is the Rav. He runs and he's screaming. Oh, and after after the dog is gone, students tell the Rav, Rabbi, you told us the pasuk. What happened to you? You hear the story?
Yeah.
So he says, what could I have done? The dog barked so loud that I got mixed up. I couldn't bring out the pasuk from my mouth. I was so mixed up. I was so rushed. I didn't know what to think. I couldn't think right. So that's Magen Duma says this example. I said this happens to us when we are in Galut. We have different challenges, nisyonot after nisyonot. One test after another test. A person gets mixed up. People don't think straight. They don't remember the learning. They are so short-minded at the time. They can't think straight. They think end of the world. Why? What can we do? Don't worry. There's someone above is running the world. But the person, unfortunately, doesn't see the future. He's so mixed up and confused and rushed. The Rav forgot to say the pasuk. So that's why people in Egypt, they were so rushed. They couldn't think. If Amram stopped marriage, we're going to do the same. Well, that's all. When the Corona came, people are so rushed. They're not making the right decision. Even though if it would be in a separate situation, they would make a right decision. If they look from outside, there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, "Ezo chacham haroet hanolad." Who is a wise person? Somebody who sees the future, the nolad, something that will be born. Nolad in Hebrew could mean something that was born, not will be born. It has two meanings, future and past. So Rav Simcha Zisser says that sometimes this nolad should mean the past. Who is a wise person? Whoever looks at the past. So in the past, many things happened, and everything was, in the end, beseder. This will be another thing that will turn okay. Okay, relax. Everything will be fine. Then I talk to my Rav, he's like that. That will be okay. So other things happen. The riots, okay, it has happened before. Happens again. It'll calm down. It'll be okay. Don't worry about it. Don't lose your trust. So the person has to be, focused, refocused. Remember that there's someone in charge. Remember these things happened many times in history. It's not the first time. And Hashem saved us one way or another. We'll do the same again. That's very, very important from the discussion of Miriam and his father and her father Amram. Another important point is that when Batya opened the box and saw Moshe there, he saved that little baby, right? Did she know who he's going to be? No. Did she know that he's going to... He says that she saw Shekhinah, presence of Hashem with a extra light. Okay, but there's a midrash. But simple